Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. Last time we made it to orbit, this time we've got to come back. Since last time, I've been launching more satellites to gather science and accepting contracts without checking their requirements. So, there is now a ring of failed missions and debris around the poles of Kerbin. But no need to worry about that, because clouds and more mods and a drastic improvement in performance and graphical quality. The lack of funds is just a side effect of rapid progress, and absolutely not the result of poor planning and lax fiscal responsibility. Valentina, you will either be the first woman in space, or this space program will be bankrupt. Don't fuck it up. Off you go. She didn't fuck it up. I do have a life support mod installed, so I was worried we might get to orbit and find Valentina unwilling or unable to do her tasks. But she did her job diligently. Even though it says starving just there, we seem to have enough leeway with a basic life support aboard to do this simple mission. Kerbin is gorgeous with these clouds. After a few orbits admiring the view, it was time to return home. A common mistake here is to point the spacecraft directly downwards. However, an object remains in orbit because it is moving sideways at incredible speed. A far better way is to slow down by pointing the engines backwards along the orbit, or retrograde, and using the atmosphere to kill the remaining speed. 35 kilometers should do it from low orbit. We are once again spared from bankruptcy. Next, I wanted to mess around with ScanSat. These parts allow you to make maps of planets using an orbiting satellite. On here I have a radar dish, which can create elevation and topography maps, and a spectrometer recording biome information. This takes a while, but can update without the craft loaded. So let's move on. While bankruptcy is no longer imminent, it would be nice to be a bit more secure and have some upgraded buildings, especially the VAB, which is very expensive. A few simple satellite contracts later, I have the funds. I tried to make these ones into a basic communication network. However, the relay range on these dishes is insultingly small. Moon 1 was also launched, with the intention of flying by the moon, gathering science, and then naffing off into interplanetary space. It didn't exactly work out that way. Without patch conics predicting future encounters and orbits, it was impossible to adjust the trajectory to avoid a moon impact. Oh well, Moon 1 more or less completed its mission, and those funds were used to upgrade the tracking station, activating patch conics, and the astronaut complex, allowing Kerbals to EVA in space. This is Moho 2, an upgraded version of its predecessor with a service module stage containing electric charge, life support, and experiments. I'm hoping some form of this spacecraft will take us past the moon, and possibly into orbit. though it will have to be upgraded if I hope to do that. This one only just made it to orbit of Kerbin. The experiments aboard are upgraded versions of the Materials Bay and Mystery Goo. They're pretty interesting. Jeb is also the first Kerbal to do a spacewalk. You can do an EVA report over every biome. There's Kerbin's water, shore, grasslands, and mountains. I can also get the desert science, though it doesn't seem there's any more biomes under our current path. I'll come back later for the rest. Moho 2 at this point has just enough fuel for a small boost into a higher orbit to get high space science. After a few more orbits and one last spacewalk to grab the experiments, it was time to come home. That mission netted a fair bit of science, which I used to unlock new command pods and reaction control thrusters. You might have noticed another ship in orbit during the last mission. That is a stranded astronaut, though I promise I didn't strand him. No, it's a contract to save Terman Kerman from low orbit. For that, I used a modified Moho spacecraft, replacing the scientific experiments with probe control and RCS. We'll talk more about orbital rendezvous later. I'm sure you'll be seeing a lot of it when I get to building space stations. It's fair to say I made a bit of a hash of it this time, but KSP is quite forgiving with its fuel margins, so we made it. I'm not sure how Terman got up here in that either. No matter, he can dash across the small 700-meter gap to board Moho 3 and finally return home.